or calling the Fan Bragging Hotline at 855-FAN-BRAG, FANBRAG. Now back to Angel and Eric, the Experience Pros.
Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us. It is the home of positive business talk, which is kind of our company culture.
It is our company culture. And do you know what your company culture is? Our next guest is Kristin Robertson, CEO of Brio Leadership. She's worked with Hewlett-Packard, 7-Eleven, Southwest Airlines, and is a premier company culture consultant. As an executive coach and interactive meeting facilitator, she develops dynamic leaders who shape today's vibrant company cultures. Her latest book is Your Company Culture Ecosystem, Growing a Vibrant Business. And we're actually even going to give you a website where you can take a quiz on your company culture today. Kristin Robertson, welcome to Experience Pros.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Kristin, every time we talk about culture, I cannot help but go back to high school science lab where culture is something that grows.
In a petri dish.
Right? And it's not all that wrong when you align that with what happens in our petri dish of the companies that we build.
Yeah, well, it's kind of an analogy because you want to grow a good culture there, not the bad ones with all the bugs and germs in it, right?
Exactly. Okay, so what do you consider? What would the parameters be if a company could consider themselves vibrant? What does it mean to have a vibrant company culture?
It's the kind of company where employees love to go to work on Monday mornings. They're the ones that jump out of their car and walk in with a confident stride and a smile on their face into the office. Unfortunately, though, most people, 86% of employees in the U.S. today, are not engaged and unhappy, and they conversely are the ones who sit in the car and say 5 Hail Marys before they manufacture the courage to walk into the office into this toxic environment.
And how often do you think that really comes to play for people?
Oh, it's way too often, just way too often. So, I keep hearing stories of these kinds of people every day in my coaching practice, and it just breaks my heart.
All right. Well, Kristin, then let's see if we can't, in our little slice of time, try to solve at least one of the problems when it comes to company culture. We believe here at Experience Pros that culture is a trickle-down effect from the top down. What do you think about that?
Oh, couldn't be more musical to my ears. I like to say that the fastest way to change a culture is to change the way your leaders lead. And so as an executive coach, that's exactly what I do. I go into companies, I audit their culture and see where their limiting beliefs are, where their dysfunction is, and work on that, come up with values and the behaviors that support, the behaviors that will get you fired, hopefully, if you don't follow them. And then, most importantly, I work with the leaders, typically the whole C-suite, and get them together in a room, do some training, but mostly one-on-one coaching to a development plan after we've done a 360 assessment of their behaviors.
Well, Kristin, what are some of the limiting beliefs that people in the C-suite would have? I mean, we understand what the culture of maybe we don't understand what the culture of the company is. What are the limiting beliefs?
Well, for instance, you might believe that it doesn't matter how you treat people because it's just the results that you get. And that may be because, for instance, your dad said, just bring home the good grades and I don't care what you do to get them.
Mm.
So that can be a limiting belief for somebody who thinks that it's not important. The way to the goal is not important. The goal is only the goal. So that's just one example.
I love how you talk about going into the leadership, right? It trickles down. But oftentimes I would think, Kristin, that when somebody's bringing you in to improve their company culture, I would think that they would think that, it's the employees that need the training and not so much the leadership. Do you find they're surprised that it's kind of hemorrhaging from them?
Yeah, I call that the missionary sale, that you have to convert them first before you sell them. So sometimes that's difficult, which is why I want to work with leaders who recognize that it's the leadership group that really is going to set the tone. You've heard the tone at the top phrase, but it takes some humility and to be able to say, okay, let's work on me and the rest of the leaders. Those are the kind of people that I really want to work with.
Really well said. Our guest is Kristin Robertson. She's the CEO of Brio Leadership, and she's got a quiz for you to take. If you're interested in finding out what your company culture is, go check out company-culture-quiz.com. And with just a few questions, you may come up with some eye-opening opportunities. What can the people expect to, at the end of that quiz, what are they presented with, Kristin?
They're presented with a range of values. And if you're at the top, you get a kudo. You can pat yourself on the back. You've got a great place to work. And you should probably go and apply for the honor in your city. And then we have gradations of, probably in the middle, you've got an okay culture, but you've got some things to work on, all the way down to, hey, you flunked. And you need to really take a look at this. So it gives you just a taste of how well you're doing.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the quiz during the commercial break and see how we rate. The website, again, Eric, will you say that again? Because I switched over to the page, and now it's under Brio Leadership.
You got it.
Yeah.
The quiz can be found at company-culture-quiz.com. That's company-culture-quiz.com.
And you also have a book, Your Company Culture Ecosystem. Where do you want our listeners to get a copy of your book and follow some of your thoughts and programs?
It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Excellent. Excellent.
Kristin, is there one thing that you can maybe suggest to our listeners today, that no matter where they are, maybe it's a universal, it comes up in every single assessment that you ever do, that maybe comes out and says, I can make a difference if I shift or pivot this thing? Is there any one thing that comes to mind?
This one is it. And this is so important because of the news that we've had lately of the sexual harassment.
Sure.
And that is to have zero tolerance for non-supportive behaviors to your values, and to have the managerial courage to terminate someone who's not living up to your behavioral norms. And honestly, I think we would have prevented all of these news stories that we've heard over the last several months if someone had had that managerial courage to hold people accountable.
Do you have to have that no tolerance policy in writing in order to enforce it?
Yes, too. But Angel, I think it's most important to walk the walk rather than talk the walk. The most impactful thing is to see somebody that you know is a jerk being terminated, even though they're a big performer. Like they bring home the bacon if they're a sales VP, but they're such a jerk to work with that it creates a toxic environment. To see that person terminated, and of course you can't say why you terminate them, but people will figure it out.
They will.
Such a relief.
Yeah, a relief will happen, and a stress will be removed from the entire. And so, I remember hearing the phrase, Kristin, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. And I always thought that was just a cute phrase, until one time I actually had a bag of apples where there was one bad apple in it. And it really did spoil the rest of the apples. And then, I don't know, that whole thing was a visual for me, but everybody will know. You'll have reduced turnover of good employees. You'll have improved customer satisfaction and loyalty, which we've been talking about today, and increased profitability. So everything is tied to company culture. Yes? Yes,
indeed. Indeed. And I saw on your all's website that you tout your company culture, so it can also be a brand enhancer.
Absolutely. When we put down that we are positive business talk, that's it. I mean, that's the standard against which everything is measured. So we get it. All right, folks, go check out company-culture-quiz.com. That's company-culture-quiz.com. Kristin, anything else you'd like our listeners to know before we have to let you go?
Well, here's to your vibrant company culture. I hope that you have 100% of your people who are excited to come to work on Monday mornings.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angel and Eric. I've really enjoyed my time with you.
It is our privilege. Yep. That's Kristin Robertson, and you're gonna love it. Take the quiz. We're gonna take the quiz during the break. We'll let you know what the results are on our company culture, company-culture-quiz.com. Again, company-culture-quiz.com. Angel Tussey and Eric Raymer helping you get your business right each and every day. You know, it has to be an act of intention. And so we take the first step. Come join us. We'll be back after these messages. Be sure to connect with us by way of experiencepros.com. Click on the radio tab and then get the archives of this broadcast at your convenience. Back after these messages.